Hi guys, Mr. Carmine here, and today I have a developer of a very well-known indie game, and his name is DJArcas. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm DJArcas. I'm the creator of FortressCraft.
I've got a few questions here that I'm going to ask. I say a few, there's actually quite a lot, but anyway. Okay, where did you start your game development career?
I started when I was 5. A friend of mine had a VIC-20, and he was babysitting me amusingly, and he showed me the games, and I was like, wow, how do these get written? And then he showed me how to write games in BASIC. And then I got my first computer that year for Christmas, and I remember the very first thing I did wasn't to try and run a game. The first thing I did was type in a game from the manual, because a while ago when you still got programs in the manuals with the computer.
Before I was born, yeah.
And then I got into the games industry in '99. That's what, 12 years ago now. And I've been there ever since.
I understand that was it MotoGP was your first title? Was it?
Yeah, it was the first one that was any good. Yeah, I worked on a couple of titles before that, but they were rubbish. But MotoGP, yeah, it was the first one that was critically acclaimed. It was the first Xbox Live game. Was MotoGP as well. So
yeah. How did you transition from a AAA title, as it were, to your indie game development that you do now?
Well, I'm actually still doing AAA development. FortressCraft, unfortunately, at the minute, is still a part-time thing. It's still a hobby. But I mean, a lot of that was because Microsoft offered up this indie game system, which really lets anybody, it's £60 a year, it's about $100, and as long as you pay that fee, you can write whatever you want. And though I was doing games, full time in my daytime, when you're working on a big game, you're only working on a small thing. So if you're on a really massive project, you might spend 2 months just writing like the traffic sound effects or something like that.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work, and it sometimes it can get very boring. Whereas when I go home, I'm doing explosions or I'm doing particle shaped stuff, and you get to do really interesting things that you just would never ever get to do at work. And so I did those anyway. And then when the indie game system came along from Microsoft, of course, suddenly I could finish those games and then release them and make money from it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking into game development as a career. Seriously, I've just finished my GCSEs and I'm kind of in limbo between college and doing my A-levels and my GCSEs, and I'm doing programming at A-level at my college next year.
Cool.
So would you advise getting into that Microsoft package?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about X and A and C#, I mean, C#'s a great language. It's got a lot of the advantages to C, and most of the disadvantages aren't there. So it is a great language to work with. Sadly, it's not very widely used.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's getting to the point now where if you want to do AAA development, it's C++. If you want to do Windows Phone 7 or Xbox, it's C#. If you want to do iOS stuff for iPhone and iPad, of course, then you've got Objective-C. So it's already got to the point where the language you need to learn is a little bit fragmented. So, but C# one of the better ones.
Yeah. Just out of interest, which job do you prefer? Your part-time indie game work or your full-time AAA stuff, as it were?
They're very, very different. I mean, well, for instance, comparing contrast, for instance, today, I've been working on the Doctor Who game, and the new one, and I've been arranging scripts and sound effects and planning it out and putting together like that. And then when I come home, I'm here sorting out a network test for FortressCraft. I mean, they have almost nothing in common, barring at the end of the day they're a computer game. So, no, they're very different.
Okay, I've heard by a lot of people who've worked in game development before that it's a bit hit and miss, and it can be a bit risky, especially if you're solely relying on the indie game side of things, because you're kind of just working on off commission, effectively. Do you get under pressure a lot?
Yeah, well, that applies to the real game development as well. So I recently got made redundant from Activision, from the Freestyle Studios, working on DJ Hero. And the news came through, and we all went down the pub to sort of commiserate. And then we had this game we were playing, and we were trying to work out who'd been in the industry the least time and got made redundant the most. One guy, he'd been made redundant 7 times, and we're like, wow. So it's not just an indie thing. Yeah. Conversely, certainly, to be honest, with iOS, with the Xbox indie game things, if you write the game for yourself, you'll write a game, you'll be very proud of it, and you'll send it out, and no one will buy it. And if you want to write games for yourself, be proud of what you've written, that's fine. But don't... On the other hand, if you want to write games that will sell lots of copies, that's not necessarily the approach you can take. It's a bit like music. I mean, if you make, really, really crazy music that you'd really love, more respect to you. But if you want to get to the top of the charts, crappy drum break, auto-tune it, good-looking girl on the front cover. Yeah, it's that sort of thing. It depends what you want out of it, and this is something I think a lot of the current indie developers have sort of missed. That is this. I mean, I've been accused of selling out, and I was like, dude, I've written 10 indie games that pretty much flopped. Am I not allowed to sell out now? But more of it was just because with Fortress, I just got lucky because it was a game I wanted to write anyway. Very much enjoyed writing it, and it's been a huge success.
Yeah. Well, following on to that, I was following you on Twitter throughout the development of FortressCraft because I've been looking forward to it for a while. I was looking forward to it for a while, rather, and I kept seeing tweets from you at about 12 o'clock at night saying that you'd just come across some crazy bug, and it just made me think I could not do this if I was up at 2 in the morning and I just got crazy over some stupid error that's just come up in the game.
Well, this is something a lot of younger people don't realise. Game development is a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah.
You get the usual response I get from people: "Oh, cool, you get to play games all day." No, I mean, especially with FortressCraft, with a lot of games, there's a lot of very heavy maths, a lot of logic to do. But the reason you're doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning is not for money. It's because it's really fun. It's really enjoyable.
It's your passion.
It's equivalent of doing a painting or something. If you're painting something or writing music or writing a book, you won't go, 10 o'clock. I think I'll go to bed. If you're happy with your chapter, you're gonna finish that chapter of that book off, and you're going to keep going, and then you find yourself halfway through the next chapter before you realise it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and the sun's coming up, and
I know that you develop games full time as well as your part time thing now, but which one at the moment are you making more money out of? Is it your full time job or this part time job?
The indie game is most certainly making more money at this point by a ludicrous amount. Okay. Whether or not that will last is anybody's guess, though. I mean, today might be the last day it sells even one copy. There's no guarantees whatsoever there.
I'm sure that's not the case, though, as you're going to have these new chapters coming out, and you have a lot of fans at the moment.
Well, sales haven't dropped off. I mean, sales are slowly declining, but only very slowly. It's really got a long tail on it. This game,
quite amazing.
Really. It's unusual, certainly for the indie game market. I mean, we're now back at #1 on the charts again. It's it's crazy. About 4 months to still be there is very unusual.
Okay, I understand that there's a new update coming out as well, which I'm also interested in. Do you want to give us the lowdown on the features that are going to be included in this?
Yeah, well, that's actually what I've taken a small break from to do this, because, I'll tell you just because I need to talk to somebody about it. So I finally today, got the figures through from Microsoft for the first 3 months. Until this point, it's always been number of sales multiplied, and I actually solidly know how much it made until the end of June. Yeah. So it's very weird seeing it, sort of come through. So I've just been sitting here tonight, eating Chinese, watching Futurama, trying to sort of get my composure back, because the new patch is very close now. There's one bug which I was kind of soak testing, where all the landscape flickers, and apart from that, we need to do a big network test with as many people as we can, and then we need to do regression testing, and that means we're going to install 104, the current release patch, on all of the peer reviewer stuff. We're going to create a world. We're then going to convert it to 109, so we're effectively going to pretend to patch it, and then make sure no one loses their world. That's the sort of top priority. But the two main, well, there's quite a few. I mean, one of the main things is certainly the workshop. So now you can create high-resolution, small objects that work as blocks. So this means that if you're doing a creative thing, you don't have to rely on me to have created a corner block or a chandelier or an alien head. You can just draw it yourself and use it as a block.
Yeah, how does that work then? Do you shrink it down, don't you? I saw this on one of your videos that I was watching earlier.
What it does is underneath your spawn, it puts a workshop, and the workshop is 8x8 cubes. And in the workshop, you build it, and then you see a small copy of it automatically. So you build like a huge version of it, and it makes small copies.
Right, that's really cool. I'm looking forward to that then.
I look forward to that one. But that's one habit for me. Probably the most exciting thing is the rate my server stuff. So now your server can earn ratings. There's 7 ratings in total. You got to get votes to rise at the ratings, and the higher rated you are, you get special items that you can show off and prove that you've got a very highly rated world.
Do you get your do people finally get their crazy axes that you always show off in your videos?
Well, I mean, there's about 70 or 80 people that've got the tech axe, the black and gold one. I think there's about 5 people right now that have got the wiki axe. That's the new one. So they're always going to remain probably the most prestigious of the awards, the rarest ones.
Yeah.
But the only way to earn those is to actually directly help out with the development of the game, either with an idea that makes it in, or something along those lines. I mean, if you did like a texture pack, you'd get one.
Well, I'd happily help you with testing out your servers. So hint, hint.
Well, I mean, the thing for testing, testing is kind of its own reward. I mean, it's the tech hacks reward has always been for going above and beyond the sort of Call of Duty. But as for the server awards, anyone can earn those. But I've forgotten the equivalent, the prestige level 50 thing in Call of Duty. Anyone can earn it. That doesn't mean that you are going to. So I look forward to seeing, and I've said to people, if you get a server award, send me a photo. Just take a photo of your screen, send it to me, and I'll see if I can, for each person to be the first person to get each successive award, I'll see if I can sort out a prize of some sort for you.
Okay. Also, as I said, I'm looking into doing game development as my career. If you had to give someone a few tips for going into that career path, what would you say to them?
For going into the career, expect to make not very much money. You're going to spend a huge amount of time doing it. And to really, really, really be prepared to spend, do a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
If you're looking into making yourself, that's the phrase, to make it so people want you in there. I mean, the main trick is to get good at programming, to get good at games, to get good at design, and a lot of that only comes through practice. So a good example is when I worked for Criterion, I had a 20-minute train journey each way, and I was doing indie games. Well, they weren't even called indie games back then. They were just games I wrote at home. But on the 20 minutes each way, if I had a sketchbook, I'd be sketching out levels. If I had my handheld Palm Pilot on me, I'd be writing code on it. So wherever I was, whatever I was doing, I made sure I was improving my skill set. I was learning, I was planning, I was thinking. And then when I got home at the end of the day, assuming I wasn't too tired, I put into practice what I'd been thinking about that day. And just to, if you really want to be really world class, you will spend every waking minute either thinking about programming games, or playing other people's games and going, how do they do that? Oh, that's a brilliant idea. Oh, if only they'd added these and those, and I don't like that bit, and that bit's crap. So just the enthusiasm and the energy to do it all the time, that's probably the most important thing. And when I do job interviews at work for people, that's what we look for more than anything else, more than a great skill set. is
Yeah.
lots of enthusiasm, because a good skill set comes over time, but enthusiasm is something that you've either got or you don't.
Yeah. Also, like leading on to that, do you need any qualifications?
No,
None at all.
no,
Does it help to have a degree?
I don't know. I don't have one.
You don't.
No, okay. So, I've worked on 65 commercial SKUs. I worked on the 7th highest Metacritic rated game ever. I was the largest contributor to the largest Xbox Live indie game ever released. So that's my sort of my plus side.
Yeah.
I failed maths. I failed English. I did 2 years at college and got a diploma in information technology, and I never went to uni, and then I spent 2 years unemployed. So I'm living proof that you don't need qualifications whatsoever to be able to do this. I won't say it doesn't help, but I do find that, again, in interviews, a lot of game development courses are not very useful. People come into the interview going, "What have you done?" "Oh, well, we made this level in Unreal," and you're like, "We don't work in Unreal here. What have you done that's useful?" "Oh, we did some Java programming." I'm like, well, great. Do you know C++? "Oh, we did a module in that." "Okay, so we're going to talk about, cache coherency when you're doing string copies," and they'll be like, So it's
Yeah.
surprising how useless they are, but to another degree, I mean, we've had the Xbox for 5 years now.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I was one of the top 500 people in the world who could tell you about the PS2, and I was probably one of the top 10 people in the world who could tell you about PS2 audio. I mean, literally, top 10. Now, totally useless, of absolutely no use whatsoever, unless you want me to tell you horror stories about how horrible, terrible it is. So the industry as a whole, everything you learn iterates and moves forward. So if you spend 2, 3, 4 years learning a degree, whatever the course was when you started is not necessarily helpful when you quit. And that's what we found with a lot of people. I mean, even back at college, we were learning COBOL and Pascal, which, totally useless languages now. And again, people are learning Java and things, which is, it's very nice, but if you're doing games development, Java's
not really going to help, yeah.
Yeah, Java's lovely programming, but I mean, I can name them. The number of commercial, successful games written in Java is 1, and that's Minecraft. That's it as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, I mean, the thing about university and college is if you've got the drive and the passion to do that, you'll use that time. I mean, the best thing about college for me was access to the really fast computers, amusingly, access to pirate games, because I suddenly went from a pirate game every 6 months to suddenly people are bringing huge piles of discs of brand new pirate games. And I played them all, and I went through them going, oh, Captain Blood had the rotating planets. I'm like, how are they doing that? That's Perlin noise. And, suddenly being exposed to all of that really helped. And I found other people who were into games, and, then we kind of moved from there.
Okay. Finally, have you heard of Yeousch?
No. Yeousch?
Yeah, I would advise you to go and check it out. It's a new network on YouTube that has just got partnership. It's effectively like Machinima.
All right.
So they've got a bunch of directors on there. They push out really cool content. So you should check that out at some point. So,
Yeousch, what? Y-O-W-S-H?
Yeousch.
Y-E-O-U-S-E-H.
Yep.
As in Yowza. No.
No.
Y-E-O-U-S-E-H brings back no hits.
I can copy it to you on chat.
Go for it. I'll take that. I mean, that, to be honest, it's funny you should mention it, 'cause that's one of the weirdest things about this whole game. I mean, FortressCraft's got a big YouTube following.
Yeah.
I got a Twitter to start for this game. I've had a YouTube channel for ages, but it's not been much use. And suddenly, I've dealt with, not just Keemstar, but some very big YouTube personalities, and it's strange because I didn't even know this existed 6 months ago. This is a new thing. The concept of people watching a guy play COD, and they're not even talking about COD. They're watching him play COD, and he's chatting about the Super Bowl or something. And I'm watching these things going, I don't understand. Now I've been quite immersed in it all. I mean, it's fascinating to learn about this, but it's all been very new. And a lot of FortressCraft's purpose, a lot of its goal, a lot of its uniqueness has come from trying to give the machinima community as many tools as they can to make movies. Because I mean, I've seen some great movies in Minecraft, but you're like, wow, you really wish the game was helping you there. I mean, you can't turn off the HUD, you can't customize your character properly, you know, that sort of thing.
I can tell that you've taken that into account with all the options and things in FortressCraft. I mean, you've got the machinima kind of stuff in the menu.
It's sadly not as used as I'd hoped. Though, I mean, two things. I mean, firstly, a lot of people get machinima and machinima realm mixed up. Machinima is making a movie in a computer game.
Yeah.
Machinima realm is some people who apparently do that, but I've yet to actually see any machinima on machinima. They're like long plays or let's plays, and like, this isn't really machinima. This is just computer game footage.
Yeah, well, I can try and change that for you if you want. I'll give it my best shot at trying to use your engine.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is I was expecting people to keep giving me requests to put into the game.
Yeah.
To saying, oh, I need this. The only one people keep requesting is green screen. And I'm like, why? Why do you need an avatar to animate in front of your own background? And you can do this anyway. It's got green blocks. If they're just not, maybe I'll rename them to green screen blocks or something. I don't know. It's a little strange, that one. But having said that, today, because what I do is every couple of days I go onto YouTube and I just search FortressCraft and I look at the new videos and I see what's going on up there. And today someone posted a video about FortressCraft on machinima, and I watched it and I was like, you called it Fortress Spacecraft. That's not what it's called. And then I searched for Fortress Spacecraft and there's bloody millions of thousands of videos. I'm like, oh no, everyone's been calling it wrong.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to end it there. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. If you send me a copy of this, I'll retweet it so people can listen to it.
All right, thanks.
No
Bye.
problem.